Before evil had a name, it had a song. Before there was darkness, before the serpent, before the garden, there was light, pure, radiant, and alive. It moved like music through eternity, filling every corner of creation with harmony. And at the center of it stood one being, the morning star, Lucifer. He was not born evil. He was born admired, the closest to the throne, the reflection of divine brilliance, a being of perfect beauty and unshakable grace. When he sang, the stars themselves seemed to tremble. His voice wasn't just sound, it was creation made audible. Every note carried purpose. Every breath shimmered with light. He led not by command, but by presence. Angels followed him, not because they were ordered to, but because they wanted to. For a time, there was nothing in him but light, a radiance so flawless that even heaven itself seemed to revolve around it. But perfection doesn't shatter with war. It cracks with a thought. One quiet moment, one whisper of a question. Why not me? He stood before the throne, the source of all glory, and for the first time, he saw his own reflection in the divine light. It wasn't envy yet. It was wonder, curiosity, the seed of self-awareness, the soft beginning of pride. And from that seed grew a thought that heaven had never known. He didn't fall because he hated God. He fell because he loved his reflection more. The light turned inward, and in that moment, something sacred splintered. No trumpet sounded, no thunder broke. Heaven remained still, but eternity had shifted. Lucifer began to speak softly to those near him. He did not rage or rebel. He reasoned. He asked questions that sounded almost wise. Why should all will bend to one? Why should eternity depend on a single voice? He didn't demand followers. He inspired them. He didn't speak of rebellion. He spoke of freedom. And that was the brilliance of his deception. It didn't sound like darkness. It sounded like enlightenment. The brightest among the angels began to listen. Their hearts stirred with curiosity, admiration, even hope. They saw in him a vision of something new, a heaven not ruled by command, but shared by equals. The harmony that had once defined eternity began to falter, just slightly, like a song drifting off key. The first war in heaven began not with swords, but with a sentence. Michael stood before him, the warrior of heaven, sorrow heavy in his voice. "You were the most beautiful of us," he said. Lucifer smiled, his wings shimmering with impossible light. Then perhaps beauty was the mistake. The heavens trembled, light collided with light. No blood was shed, only brilliance. The sky turned into a battlefield of radiance and grief. But pride cannot bend. It only breaks. And so he fell, not with thunder, but with silence. Like lightning without sound, he plummeted through eternity, cast from the height of glory into the endless dark. They say heaven did not strike him down. It simply stopped calling his name. He landed not in fire, but in absence, a light that no longer had a source. And there, pride found its true shape. Time passed. The stars continued to turn. Then, in a garden called Eden, untouched and pure, peace lived without effort. Creation was young, innocent, and unscarred. And there in that silence, the fallen light returned. He didn't come with fury. He came with a question. The serpent in the garden was not monstrous. It was radiant, clever, calm. His weapon was not power, but suggestion. "Did God really say?" he asked softly. He didn't tempt Eve to hate her creator. He tempted her to think, to doubt, to reach, to become. And with one small hesitation, trust fractured. Desire followed. A single act of disobedience echoed through eternity. Lucifer smiled, not in triumph, but in satisfaction. He hadn't needed to destroy heaven. He only needed to make creation question it. As centuries passed, The world grew louder, empires rose, temples glittered, kings crowned themselves divine, and behind every idol, every throne, every whispered promise of power, his presence lingered. He didn't need to conquer earth by force. He conquered it by imitation. He no longer created evil. He renamed it. Greed became ambition. Pride became dignity. Rebellion became freedom. And mankind, dazzled by their own reflection, followed the same path their tempter once walked. The light that turned inward repeated itself again and again through every generation that chose the self over the sacred. They called him by many names: Baal, Marduk, Zeus, Apollo, and yet the eyes behind each mask were the same. The fallen light no longer needed to be seen. He only needed to be believed. Then one day, in a barren wilderness, silence met temptation. After 40 days of hunger, the Son of Man stood alone, surrounded by dust and heat. And there, Lucifer came again, the fallen light, meeting the living word. "If you are the Son of God," he whispered, "turn these stones to bread." He offered food, then fame, then power, everything he had once desired, everything that had led to his fall. But this time, he failed. The one who tried to rise above God faced the one who knelt beneath all. Lucifer fell again, not by force, but by humility. He turned away, defeated not by might, but by surrender. Years passed, and the world changed. The cross rose against the sky, and for a moment it seemed the light had finally died. Darkness rejoiced. Lucifer watched as the Son of God bled beneath the clouds and believed the story was over. The Creator defeated by his own creation, the universe unmade. But what he didn't understand was that the cross was not defeat. It was a door. The earth trembled. The veil tore. The gates of death shuddered. And through the depths came a sound, a whisper that became thunder. It is finished. Chains broke. The dead rose. And for the first time since heaven's fall, the darkness trembled. The creation he corrupted had given birth to his defeat. Mercy did what might never could. It humiliated pride. The light he once carried now burned against him. Lucifer fled, no longer triumphant, no longer radiant, just lost. For ages he wandered, a whisper behind every empire, a thought in every proud heart. But time, even for angels, runs out. At the end of all things, he is released once more. Not as a ruler, but as a final test. He gathers the proud, the bitter, the blind, all who still believe that creation can challenge its creator. But this is not a war. It is an ending. Before a single blow can be struck, fire rains down from heaven. Not the fire of vengeance, the fire of truth. It falls swift, absolute, final. Lucifer is seized, not by combat, but by decree. His voice silenced, his power erased. No longer the morning star, no longer the adversary, just emptiness, the echo of what pride became when it ran its full course. Hell is not his throne, it is his cage. The lake of fire is not a kingdom, it is a cell. He does not rule there, he simply remains. Unremembered by heaven, unfeared by hell. His punishment is not pain, it is separation, a complete and eternal absence of the light he once reflected. And so ends the brightest of all beings, not with victory or vengeance, but with silence. Yet his story lingers, not as legend, but as a warning. Lucifer's fall is more than a myth of angels. It's the mirror of mankind. Every time pride whispers, every time light turns inward, every time we believe we are enough without the source that made us. His story repeats. He wasn't a monster, he was a lesson. Even the brightest can fall, even the purest light can turn inward. And when it does, it becomes the shadow it once fought. But grace still waits. For every fall, there is a chance to rise again. For every voice that once defied heaven, there is one that can still return to it. And maybe that is why his story survives. Not to glorify the fallen, but to remind the living. That light is only beautiful when it remembers where it came from. So when you see a star fade from the morning sky, when you feel the weight of pride pressing against the heart, remember this. Lucifer once sang creation into being. Now he is the silence that reminds it. Stay humble.